Overwhelmed with online, or just wanting to learn more about how you can build a successful business amidst all of the self-appointed gurus, big buzzwords and empty promises? The Breaking Digital podcast by Doyle Bueller tells you exactly what smart entrepreneurs need to know to escape the clutter, get clear of the confusion, and pass the bullshit of building and growing a successful business online. It's about digital leadership and delivering the best value for your business online to your audience. Now, here's your host and author of the book on digital leadership and online marketing, The Digital Delusion, Doyle Bueller.
All right, hello and welcome to Breaking Digital, the worldwide and only podcast for smart entrepreneurs wanting to become true digital leaders in their industry and own online, as I call it. My name is Doyle Bueller, and I'm so excited to be bringing you a special guest today that has really shaken things up in the marketing space. He's one of the best-selling authors of a great, fantastic book, which we're going to get into in a moment. Really looking forward to helping you learn more about what you can be doing online and helping you to do it better. I want you to be able to become the true digital leader in your industry. That's my mission. And that is why I created this podcast to help everyone in their entrepreneur journey. So if you have any comments throughout this program, please feel free to connect on Twitter at Doyle Bueller. That's at DOYLEBUEHLER with the hashtag OwnOnline, or send me an email, doyle@thedigitaldelusion.com. You can also find the resources that we talk about as well as the podcast for download on iTunes, as well as if you go to thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. All right, let's get started. So I would like to introduce to you Mr. Robert Coorey from Sydney, and he is actually the author of a brilliant book, the best-selling author of Feed a Starving Crowd. And if you've spent any time online, you've probably come across some of the groups or some of the feeds or just some of the wealth of information that Robert's been putting out there with his book. So welcome to the show, Robert.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful to have with you. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy day to connect with us. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Robert. What do you do? How do you do it? Really want to find out that.
Sure. Well, I first started marketing when I was 16 years old, and a lot of my friends were earning $5 an hour at the local supermarket stacking shelves, whereas I was doing DJ business. So I was getting paid $250, $300 a gig, working 5-6 hours a week, and loving life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
and I even placed my first advertisement in the Yellow Pages when I was 16. And
oh wow!
put down $1,000. I rationed with myself that I'd only need 4 gigs to pay it back, and everything else would be profit after that. So that worked pretty well.
Did you get your 4 gigs then?
I did. I did. And the funny thing was, the first week that the Yellow Pages came out, I got my first call.
Okay.
And I was able to close the guy on the phone, and got the credit card details for a deposit. And I thought, marketing's great. You can just write some stuff on a piece of paper. People call you up, and they can order off you. It's so good. I love this.
Okay, so that was your inspiration then.
That's how I got into it.
Okay, but you don't look like a DJ today. Why is that?
I don't know, a bit more nerdy than a normal DJ, right?
Oh, okay. Excellent. And where did you take it from there? When did you actually think of writing the book, or is there a few steps before that I'm missing out?
Yeah, I suppose after the DJ business, I went to uni, and then I got a corporate job. Spent about 10 years in corporate in different sales and marketing roles, and then joined a marketing agency to work on marketing full time. And then after that, I wrote the book and then started my own business. So it's been a good journey.
Yeah, excellent. And would you care to share how how you got there, or what's coming next, or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's, to cut a long story short, when I was working at the marketing agency, I was starting to get some pretty serious results that not too many other people were achieving. For example, I almost broke the world record for the most number of people in a webinar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a pretty heavy duty campaign. Put, tens of thousands of people into live events. Launched a few best-selling books for myself and my clients.
Yeah.
So I was achieving some pretty significant results. And so people were asking me quite often how I was getting these results. And I decided to reveal all my secrets and put it into a book and And then the book's gone really well since I put it out there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the whole book came along.
And was it just one day you woke up and said, hey, I should put all these things down, like put my 200 tips down? Or did somebody say, hey, why don't you write a book?
Yeah, a bit of both.
Yeah.
A bit of both.
Okay. And what's your number one tip? So you've got more than 200 hot and fresh marketing strategies to help you find hungry customers. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is that, the reason why I call the book Feed a Starving Crowd is because a lot of the reasons that businesses fail is that they're selling something that nobody wants. And so they essentially haven't got a starving crowd. They're trying to convince the crowd that they should be hungry. And I found this myself, like the very first business I started up after the DJ business, which was a little video business, 5 years ago or so now. In that business, I was too early to market. So I was going to different businesses and saying, hey, you need to do video production. And what happened was that, they didn't really want video production then. Most of them still had a pretty crappy website. And if they had a bad website, how are they going to spend $3,000, $5,000, $7,000 on video production? It just wasn't going to happen. And no matter how much I tried to convince them, I couldn't make it work. And so that's why that business was a flop, because the crowd wasn't starving.
Okay.
And every time I've worked in a market where the crowd was starving, then things have been much easier. Look, business is never easy, don't get me wrong, but it can be easier and harder than other different types of businesses.
So are you saying then that if you don't have a starving crowd for video kind of thing, then don't do video? Is that kind of what you're saying as well?
Yeah, and there may be an argument now that video is becoming more of a starving crowd because it's more accepted, and most businesses have something on their website that's a video of some way, shape, or form. So it's becoming more into that starving crowd segment. But when I was doing it 5 years ago, like I said, most businesses still had a pretty bad website.
Yeah,
and
there's still a lot out there.
A lot still do, as you would know.
Why haven't you been finishing those, Robert?
So that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's excellent. And what did you, back to the book for a little bit, the number one bestseller, and can you quantify that? Like, how did you get it there, and where is that? Is that in Australia or worldwide, or how's that going?
Yeah. So the number one bestseller was on Amazon. So what I did was I ran an Amazon bestseller campaign. The thing with Amazon is they track the sales on an hourly basis, a daily basis, a weekly basis, and an ongoing basis. So what that means is that if you're able to generate quite a large amount of hype and orders in a short period of time, you can get to a bestseller on Amazon. And so that's what I was able to do. In September last year, because I've got quite a large following now, I was able to really do a strong bestseller campaign to make sure that it all happened and coordinate it quite well.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the magic behind an Amazon campaign. It really requires a big focus of attention in a short period of time. Like, it's no good you selling 100,000 books, equally every day over 12 months. That doesn't help you. It needs to all be in a compressed period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. And are you going to conquer other markets too, or is Amazon sort of the end all and be all?
Look, I've considered looking at the other platforms like New York Times bestseller and Wall Street Journal and those types of lists. They are very prestigious to get on, but they do require a large investment of inventory up front, because you need to have a lot of books printed and ready to go before you go for one of those kind of campaigns.
Oh, okay. Do they actually have to be in the bookstores then, or sort of in a distribution center? I've been following some of Tim Ferriss, and he's done it, and one of his Ryan Holiday as well. They've seemed to have done that, and they sort of espouse that there are some tricks of the trade. And what have you found?
The thing is, like, I wouldn't really go about it by buying 10,000 books and sticking them in a warehouse, and saying that you're a New York Times bestseller. Like, that'd be pretty hollow. I think you really need to do it. And then the other thing is, if you did it that way, even if you didn't get caught out, which is highly likely, but if you didn't get caught out, then you're still kind of stuck with 10,000 books that nobody, that nobody wants.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're going to drop off the list anyway. So, it doesn't do a whole lot for you. Yeah. Like, aside from having a newspaper clipping and a title, like, it doesn't do a whole lot for you. So if you're going to do it, you do it in a sustainable way where you can sit on the list for quite a while, because it's a lot of effort to go through to get your name printed in the paper.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Okay. But is that one of your goals then? Because having a book of the scale that you've produced here and having that community, that's fantastic. Well,
Look, it is.
Next?
It definitely is. The only thing is, my business currently isn't quite geared up to take such a wide scale of customers on such a broad base. So what I mean by that is that if you're a New York Times bestseller, right, you ideally your back end business should be able to scale to handle customers of all different levels, because you've got such a wide audience. Whereas my business right now is more geared to larger and well established businesses than small businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's fine. Well, I mean, it's good to have those, those goals and sort of make sure that it fits with what your business is about too. So, you sort of take the traffic from your book and your communities and sort of that's then what you consult with. Is that sort of the process? Okay.
That's my strategy. So out of, every 100 people that get the book, a very small percentage will come back to me and ask me for consulting work.
Okay. Excellent.
And so that's kind of how the numbers work out.
Yeah.
And so a very large percentage of people that get the book, I never hear from ever again. And a very small percentage contact me for more help.
Okay.
and that's about it. It's kind of like podcasting, right?
Yeah. Oh, true. And do you find you're doing like a lot of sort of traditional marketing, or is it mostly online marketing? Where do you find the pain for most of the work that you do?
I do a lot of online and offline marketing. So with offline, it's more about speaking, doing book tours, all that kind of stuff, and media. So that's my offline kind of strategy. And then with online, it's more Facebook advertising. I've been getting into LinkedIn in the last month in a big way, and that's been quite interesting. So there's a combination of both, because what I find is that online is easier to get distribution of the book, so it goes out to a wider market. But offline is where you make those stronger connections and you can get bigger deals happening.
Okay. How do you see sort of merging those two? Is there sort of, because like I've said at the beginning, you've got a really big community online. How are you transitioning them to the book and consulting and then the other way, it's like, okay, from the book, how do you push people to, Facebook or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, look, what I generally do is when someone gets a copy of the book from my website, I always let them know that we've got a great Facebook group and that I encourage them to join that. So that's the first step. And a high percentage of people that get the book come into the Facebook group. It's hard to know the exact numbers because Facebook doesn't give you tracking, but there's a good percentage that come into there from the book. And then it's not that easy to get people from an online community to come to offline events. For whatever reason, it's pretty tough. So it may just be that the online community is skewed towards people that prefer virtual and online. Because if you have an offline event, it's a fixed period of time in a set location. And, our audience is scattered all around the world, like literally every single continent. So if I said I'm having an event in Sydney next Thursday at 10 a.m., well, only a small percentage of the overall community is going to be able to get there at that time.
Right.
If they even want to get out of their chair and come to a seminar anyway.
Well, I was just going to say, is it because we're lazy nowadays?
It might be, or they're comfortable or just readers rather than event goers. Like there's so many different reasons why someone may not be able to come or may not want to come to a live event as opposed to just joining the community.
Yeah. And is there any trick that you found works well to getting, people to the live events, or is that sort of just a small aspect of what you do?
Yeah, it's just a small aspect of what I do. So what I normally find is best just to advertise the live events separately and don't rely on your own email database to come, because, the people that came to the database are fans of the book. And if, I always get a percentage of them that come, that's not a problem. But to get large numbers, I have to go to the wider market and advertise.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And what have you found that besides that, what let's maybe just take a different path in terms of the actual online stuff. What do you find is working, well for you and your business? Like you mentioned a community. Can you help sort of understand what size of community that is and what you do to keep them engaged?
Yes, we've got a Feed a Starving Crowd Facebook community, and you've seen this in action, Doyle.
Yeah.
It's a great bunch of people. We've got over 3,000 members now. This is April of 2015, and it's just huge. We've been running for 12 months, haven't advertised it once. It's only purely organic from people on Facebook and people who have downloaded the book. That's it.
But they're getting some value. And what do you think that value is?
Look, I'll post almost every single day. I'll give the group members either a tip or ask a question or answer questions. And so it's really, it sounds cliched, but it's actually me getting in there every day and taking action and constantly engaging and helping people in the group.
Yeah. And I think actually as an observer and sort of a sometimes participant in your group, it's like, I think the benefit though is that you've got actually people that are helping you, right? They're communicating your message, they're communicating, your beliefs and that sort of thing. And to me, I find that like very phenomenal and interesting that you've got people who are part of this group and they carry the conversation. And I'm just curious, like how did you do that? Like, is it because you've got the book or because you've talked to them and to help say, hey, can you give me a hand, or is it just doing it organically? What would you like to sort of give as tips to somebody who's building those types of communities on Facebook?
Yeah, look, what you need to do with the community is you need to be very strict about who you let in and who you don't let in and what the rules are. So in our group, everybody knows that there's no spam allowed. You can't self-promote your business. That's our number one bedrock rule. There's no spam. And by spam, I mean, even if you read an interesting article and it's on your blog, you can't post the link on your blog. You can copy and paste the tips and put them into a self-contained message. That's great. But we don't want you pushing people to your own site. That's just not the way that it works.
Yeah.
And so there's no, joint venture affiliate request or any of that kind of stuff in our group because it's there to help people. It's not there to self-promote your own business. Now, here's the funny thing. The people that get in there and help other businesses and don't even try and promote their own business, they're getting heaps of business out of the group because, and without even self-promoting, because say, for example, someone's got a website problem and you get in there, Doyle, and you say, look, this is how I would fix it. There's a good chance that next time they've got an issue, they're just going to message you privately or even call you up and say, hey, I need a new website. Can you help me? I've got this new project. Can you help me with it?
Yeah, it's very collaborative. And you really kind of have to build that from scratch though. And that's, again, is that because of the message that you're delivering, or is that kind of the people that are gung ho type thing? What do you think, Robert?
It's because I was so persistent with continuing to add value and treating the group like it was a large group, even when I just got started. So when I had, the first 30 people in there, I just treated it like there was going to be 5,000 people in there.
Yeah.
And I just continued to do it every day. Whereas some people might start it and have 30 people and say, oh, this is crap. There's only 30 people. No one cares. Forget this.
Yeah.
Whereas I just knew that if I kept literally adding value all the time and I kept the book downloads coming along strong, then that would work out well.
And do you ever run out of ideas of delivering value? Like
no, there's always something else to talk about. It's kind of like the news.
Yeah.
There's always tomorrow's news. Something always happens.
Okay. And so you just sort of tap into that need to, hey, let's fill up that value funnel basically and say, let's provide infinite value and see kind of how the community responds. And in your case, it's run well.
That's right. And if people are engaged, they'll always have a question to ask.
Yeah.
It's the way that the world works.
Yeah, but that's a lot of questions that you get about online is, well, how do you get an engaged audience and that sort of thing? And if I can summarize, what you're saying is just deliver that value, deliver the content that's very timely, but it provides knowledge, it educates people. Is that how you would?
That's right. And it sounds simple, right? People are going to say, I knew that already. But you know what? If you don't do it, we'll try being a community without doing that.
Yeah. Well,
good luck.
But
if you can make it work, tell me, please. I'd love to find out how, but I don't know any other way to do it other than hard work.
Yeah, exactly. It's not easy, right? Even creating that value has taken you an awful lot of time and an awful lot of resources, correct?
Definitely. I've gone through a ridiculous amount of money testing stuff.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. And so your Facebook group has worked well. And if you wouldn't mind, what do you find hasn't worked well for you online? Are there certain aspects that, just you tested and it's like, oh no, this isn't going to work?
Yeah, look, there's lots of different stuff that hasn't worked. The thing is, every strategy works and every strategy doesn't work. So you could talk to 10 people and if you ask each one of them, does Facebook ads work? Does LinkedIn work? Does Twitter work? Does Pinterest work? Does Instagram work? Does TV advertising work? Does radio advertising work? Does newspaper advertising work? And every single one of them could say yes to some things and no to other things. Yeah. And so, it's so every single thing does work and it doesn't work at the same time.
Yeah.
And you've really got to just give it a go for your business and make an educated decision as to which one do you think have the best chance of working well. Like if you're a small business and you're getting started and you've got no money, well then obviously TV advertising isn't going to be the right thing for you to do.
Right.
But if you're a big brand and you're looking to grow that profile and to reach a very wide audience, then absolutely. Like I don't know any other way that you can reach 1 million people all at the same time, other than a TV ad. So that's it really depends on where people are at.
And do you find that some people, like, is there sort of, do you have to educate people sort of first to say, okay, well, look, you're in this niche, this is, your business, therefore you should do that? Or do people come to you with, hey, I've kind of got a good idea? Like, I don't know, how much sort of pre-education do you have to build up to them to say, hey, this is what you can do, and this has a better probability of success?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people, the biggest question most people have is, will Facebook work for my business? I kind of think most people have a good grasp of that LinkedIn's a B2B professional network kind of business. Like you wouldn't sell health supplements on LinkedIn, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then I think really, the big confusion's around Facebook as to whether will that work for my business or not. And I know that business to consumer has a good grasp around that, but more of a business to business question.
Sorry for the pause, because I was actually on the other line with Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Yep.
From Facebook.
How is he?
Yeah, he's doing really good. But he said you gotta pronounce my name right. Anyway, he said, in jest obviously, that he's leaving and he wants you to sort of become the CEO of Facebook. So what would you do if that opportunity came about? What was the first thing that you would do, Robert?
Negotiate a pay rise and some stock options.
Okay. And get your new car.
Yeah, then get my new car.
Yeah.
Then we go from there.
So is Facebook doing the right thing, or are they kind of going to be around for a couple more years and then we'll have another channel to work with?
No, they're killing it. They're doing really well.
Yeah.
They're doing really, really well.
Yeah. Okay. So there's nothing that you would do other than, okay, what are my stock options, boys?
Look, there's a lot of people that are a lot more smart than me running that company.
Okay.
And for me to advise them it'd be irresponsible.
Okay. All right. No worries. That's cool. And so just sort of, how would you suggest people, like you do a lot of online stuff and maybe we could just sort of focus on that. What are kind of a couple of action steps or a couple of ideas that you would have for sort of a business that's just kind of wanting to build some traction online? What would you recommend for them to do?
Yeah. If you're just getting started, I always recommend to run a webinar. To test out a new idea. So rather than building a new product from scratch and making 1,000 widgets or building a new course or whatever that tends to be, just test the market out first. So run a webinar, call some people up, run a small workshop, whatever it takes, send an email out, but try and validate that there is a demand and there is a starving crowd out there for what you're selling before you go off and invest countless hours in building it.
Okay, so really kind of test. So yes, you've got a great idea. Let's see if actually people respond to it. Is that kind of?
That's it. Let's see if they're interested. Let's see if they're pulling out their credit cards and buying. Let's see what's happening here.
Yeah, and if they don't, what should
if
you
they
do?
don't, move on to the next one.
When do you give up though?
Great, because you know that you didn't waste a lot of time building something that nobody wants. So should count your lucky stars. It's a good learning experience.
Well, can you kind of tweak that too? It's like, well, maybe that didn't work. I mean, as you know, entrepreneurs are pretty persistent buggers, right? So it's like, well, maybe I just got to change something. When do you just say give up?
If you're determined that it's a great idea, then it might be the price point's wrong, the offering's slightly wrong. There's always things you can tweak and test to see if that works.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So in closing, it's really just sort of testing the market, and you're suggesting testing with webinars and workshops just to kind of see if that's working. So you're really kind of combining that offline with online regardless. Is that correct?
That's right. Depending on what kind of audience you have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's excellent. Well, congratulations on the book, Robert. feedastarvingcrowd.com. Fantastic effort, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for listening to my podcast, Breaking Digital, the podcast for smart entrepreneurs wanting to become true digital leaders in the industry and to own online. Again, I'd like to thank my wonderful guest from Sydney, Robert Coorey, author of the Amazon best-selling book, Feed a Starving Crowd. And he's doing some absolutely amazing things online with his business. So if you have any comments on the program, please feel free to connect on Twitter at Doyle Bueller with the hashtag #OwnOnline. Send me an email, doyle@thedigitaldelusion.com, or give me a call, 61413106880. Or, as Robert maybe can agree, just Google Doyle Bueller, and I'm amazed at what comes up sometimes. Do you ever Google yourself, Robert?
All the time.
Okay. And some good stories or bad stories?
A bit of everything.
Excellent. Yeah. Anyway, I'd really appreciate it if you could share this podcast with your network, because I'm sure you'll get some value from it for building a successful business online. Don't forget, you can find the resources that we talked about, as well as a transcript, at thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. I'm Doyle Bueller, and I will see you online.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Digital with Doyle Bueller. While he goes and makes a sandwich, you can find all of the notes, links, and details on this podcast by visiting thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. Go on and click that now. www.thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. I'll definitely click that. If you'd like a free copy of the book, The Digital Delusion, How to Overcome the Misguidance and Misinformation Online, just send an email to doyle@thedigitaldelusion.com. See you online.